as I went through my life, I realized I didn't know Jesus. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. I was so far away from that, I just really had no idea. And I went back to a time too where I thought about something that, when we experience that gift of salvation, we're excited. We should be telling others.
What is up, friends? Rob here, back with a brand new Spitting Fire podcast for all of you today. And I'm with my man, Mr. Brandon Johnson. Brandon, will you say what's up to everyone real quickly?
Man, what's up, everybody? So proud that you guys are tuning in, taking the time out of your busy schedules just to come listen to Rob bring that fire and just some of the things that we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. I know you're going to spit some serious fire here in just a few minutes, but as always, the reason I interview leaders and entrepreneurs like Brandon is to inspire all of you to be the leader that I believe God has called you to be, but also to chase that God dream, that God-sized dream that he's put in your heart. And I know Brandon's going to share some serious value with all of you today. So Brandon, as always, thank you for being here with us today, and just really would like to start with just kind of an intro and a welcome, maybe whatever you feel comfortable sharing, just part of your story.
Yeah, I'm Brandon Johnson. I live in Smithville, Mississippi. I've got a beautiful wife, 10-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son. I love Jesus, and another thing that really is a passion of mine outside of my job is baseball. So I love watching baseball, playing baseball and softball with my kids, helping coach my son's team, and it's always been a joy in my life. So I've always just really enjoyed that. The name of my business is Johnson's Enterprises. We're located at a small 6,000 square foot warehouse here in Smithville, and currently got 10 employees plus myself. I've got an awesome team that is just allowing me to kind of venture out and do other things, such as this podcast this morning. So they're great. I appreciate them for sure, and in everything that we do. A little more of my background: I was raised Baptist. I really thought that I had come to know the Lord at 7 years old, but as I went through my life, I realized I didn't know Jesus. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. I was so far away from that, I just really had no idea. And I went back to a time too where I thought about something that, when we experience that gift of salvation, we're excited. We should be telling others. I remember about 3 weeks after that I had thought that I was saved, my Wednesday night teacher, Miss Cindy Harmon, she had found out, I guess, from my mom or somebody else. And she said, "Brandon, why did you not tell me?" She said, "That's so exciting." And then when I went back and looked at that, I'm like, that's just another indicator. Because if I had been filled with the Holy Spirit, man, I would have been telling folks. I would have been excited, especially as a child, and we're all to be excited about what God's doing for us in our lives. But anyway, I grew up, just played some different sports, was in the band, and I grew up and went to Hadley High School, and I was a pretty smart guy. I was in the top of my class. We had 60 something kids, not top. I think I was third, but I was in the top part of the class. And
right,
I didn't really. Something I want to talk about maybe later is also we go along is I was very successful in the terms of a 17-year-old, 18-year-old. People. I in my mind, I'm like, man, I got it. I got it all. I got it made. Brandon is doing so good. And I was so far away from doing good that I just really had no idea. And so after graduating high school, I didn't know what to do. I had people telling me, do this or do that. And I didn't. Well, number one, I didn't look to the Lord. I didn't ask him, hey, what do you want me to do? Well, I didn't have the Lord.
right.
So, that's why I wasn't looking to him. It was what does Brandon want? I'm thinking about jobs that, I need to make this amount of money or this. What thinking about, what do I truly, what's my passion? What are the things that I desire? what are my values? I wasn't thinking about any of that. So I allowed people to influence me, and I went to be enrolled in biological engineering.
Mm.
And people that know me know that I can't fix anything. You don't want me to try. I don't have the desire. You know, our washing machine goes out. My first thought is, how fast can I get that guy over here? That's what
Yeah.
I want to know. Not really,
Yeah.
hey man, I'm going to take this thing apart and do it. No.
Right.
And so I had no desire. And so I got involved in that, got in some bad situations there in college, got in an apartment with a guy I really didn't know, 8 or 10 years older than me. He was an alcoholic. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. And it was just a bad experience for me. And I didn't have that passion for what it was. I had just started though. I believe it was my freshman year there at Mississippi State that I discovered eBay. So
Mm.
I started learning what it was. And, the internet was, I don't know if you could say the internet was young, but things like that were young. And, I can remember, so I was 18. I don't think dial up came around till I was 15 or 16. So we're looking at a couple of years
Right.
after that around here in this part of North Mississippi.
Right.
And so I started selling some baseball cards, football cards, some things. And I just kind of learned how to use it. I'm like, this is pretty cool. And just kind of the concept of money and how to make money, I think was just kind of something that I kind of knew. My father owned his own business. He still has it. He's an accountant. And so, I had seen the things that he had done, and I kind of learned those things from him. Keep going through. Didn't enjoy what I was doing. I scooted through the first semester. Second semester, I didn't do so great, and then I decided, I'm gonna went back home and I enrolled at ICC and kind of was sort of just undecided there for about a year. I did really well for about a year. My friends were there, and I kind of excelled there for that season. And then it was to that point to where we need to decide again what you want to do. And then I
Yeah.
let people speak into me what they thought I should do. And the people that were doing that were doing it out of love.
Sure.
They did. They were. But it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I should have spoken up.
Yeah.
I should have said, I don't think that's what I want to do. But I didn't know. So I should have just said, I still really don't know. Let's just not even go down the road yet. Let's go. At that point, I'm still working at Walmart. I started, I've been working ever since I was 13 years old, but I should have said, I'm just going to go back to work and just do that and try to figure things out. But I didn't. And then I enrolled at MUW and was doing biology and thought that I was going to go be an optometrist because, man, everybody wants to be an optometrist to make $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 a year. That sounds great.
Right.
Yeah, but you don't think about that time. We're like, there's a lot of work, man. The people that are doing that are dedicated. They have the desire. I didn't have that desire.
Mm.
I didn't know what my desire was. And like I said, I'm still just more concerned about me than anything else. Still going through that. Didn't do well there. The one good thing that came out of that is I met my wife, Calissa. And so that was great. And then I left there, told them I didn't do well. So then when I'm kind of, every time, really the only time I'm ever speaking up is when I failed because of myself. I mean, I could have made the grades
Yeah.
had I done it, even though I didn't like it. I had the God-given ability to make better grades, but I chose not to do that. And so I left there. I went to work at a furniture factory for a year. Then I went to Mississippi State. I'm just like, just do general business. Well, I could have done that. I like business. It's kind of what I'm doing, but I didn't, that's not the kind of business that I wanted to do. I didn't want to be an accountant. I didn't want to learn all those things they had to
Sure.
learn in graphs and marketing. And even though those was kind of interesting, but not really. So we'll get to into the story. I was there at Mississippi State, I think 4 semesters. The first 2 semesters I went to school some,
Yeah.
but I did. My heart wasn't in it. Made horrible grades. Then this last 2 semesters, I believe that I was there. I was, telling people, I think I'd actually maybe been lying about my grades somewhat after that because the shame had been setting in.
Sure.
I'm like, I'm supposed to be smart. And then again, I had never experienced that failure that I talked about earlier. I was immature, and got to the point to where I'm like, well, I'm just not going to go to class. So that was the time where I think I was old enough, 20, 21, 22 years old. I'm old enough to gamble. So we weren't far from Philadelphia. So I started going to gambling. Then online gambling started, poker and things like that. And before I know it, I had a gambling problem in addition to all these other things that I had going on. And so then that last semester, I can even remember I didn't enroll in school at all. The money my parents gave me for tuition, I took it and I gambled that away. So the time, man, it finally came that I had to confess up because these people thought I was about to graduate in, I think, December of, I think it was 2005. They thought I was going to graduate, and telling my parents, my wife that I was engaged to then, her parents. I'm in line to everyone. Yeah. I mean, I even had roommates that I was just trying to do different things to lie to so they wouldn't know that I wasn't going to school. It was a full-time job, almost lying to everybody and trying to keep it in check. And dude, it was ridiculous. It was so ridiculous. And finally the day came and I had to come clean with these people. Yeah. I had to tell my parents what I had done. I had to tell my fiance what I had done, how many lies I had told her, her parents, everyone, in all my friends, family, people at church. I had lied to everyone over and over and over. So, man, I was on, I'm at rock bottom, and I got to find a way to get back up, to make things right for myself and for all these people. I've got to get their trust back. It really taught me how important trust is too.
Sure.
When I talked about being immature, this was the point where that stopped. Where, Calissa, my wife, and I, we had some hard talks, as you can only imagine. She could have easily said, hey, I'm through with you, man. You've lied to me over and over and over and over.
Sure.
But man, she really showed me love. My parents showed me love. I didn't come home to people that were kicking me when I was down. Yes, they rebuked me, as they should have, and showed me, we talked about the things I'd done wrong and a lot of things, but they showed me love. And that really made, all the difference. At this time, I still didn't know Jesus yet. I have been living for me, but, it wasn't too long after that I accepted Jesus. So after that, Calissa and I, we got married a couple of years after that. So we had a long engagement, as you can imagine, because, I was kind of on a trial basis with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I got to see what this guy, I don't really know what he's about anymore, because he's been living this life. So I was on a trial basis for quite some time. And then we really loved each other. We really love each other now more and more. And I thank God for her every day. And we got married. I still need to decide what I wanted to do. I'm like, I got a wife I got to provide for. We want to have children. I want to do, I want to do what God's told me to do, provide for my family, be a man. But let's go back to what happened in college. I didn't talk about all those bad grades. So I had a grade point average at Mississippi State, somewhere like 1.7.
Wow.
At MUW, Mississippi University for Women, my grade point average was 0.6. So for those of you out there that don't know, you can't transfer it into any kind of college if your GPA overall is not 2.0.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, man, I'm not even going to get a chance. I'm going to have to go do a laboring job, which there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what I desired. I knew that's not what I wanted. Yeah. And so I got to thinking, and what do I do? I've always loved helping people. really. That's even when I didn't know Christ, I still love people.
Sure.
I did. I learned that from my mom. Man, she took us, and when people were in need in the community, when there was elderly people that didn't even go to our church. I can remember as a 5, 6, 7-year-old child, she'd take us with her, and she'd have these people a pie or a cake or something, and she'd just sit there and talk with them when they had no one. And she showed me what it meant to love people like Jesus did. And so I said, what do I do? I said, maybe I'm going to be a nurse. I said, well, how am I going to get in nursing school? So I got to looking around. It just so happened that ICC in Fulton had an associate's degree nursing program. They didn't go up your GPA. They had a point system where if you had an A in this class, you got 12 points or B. And so I got to looking at all the classes they wanted. And I'm like, I didn't do very bad in those classes. The ACT, I made good. And so I said, I'm going to go up there and talk to somebody. And so finally I did. And here's where first time in my life that I had ever been vulnerable with somebody was coming up. I didn't even know it. I looked in there in that health sciences building, looking around for somebody to talk to. Nobody there. And finally a lady, she came around the corner and she asked me what I need help with. I told her I need to talk to somebody about getting into the nursing school here. And she said, yeah, I'm one of the teachers here, and I'd love to talk to you. We went in her office, and I poured my heart out to Janice Howell. And I told her the things told her the things that I had done that I just spoke about with you guys. And when I finished, I was crying and she was crying. And she said, Brandon, I'm going to help you. Wow. And she did. And she and I had a special bond after that, and I loved her. But tell you about her, I think she'd been in the military background in the past, and when these 18-year-old girls that were coming out of high school to be nurses, they were scared to death of her, man. She would eat them. She was eating them up and spitting them out. They'd be crying in the middle of the hallway at the hospital.
Yeah.
But she and I had a special bond. I got into nursing school. Calissa and I got married on a Saturday, June of 2006. I started a summer class. I had to be accepted to get into the following Monday, microbiology. Did well, got out, started nursing school in the fall. 2 years of that, I did great. That whole time, I'm still buying and selling some things. Not much. I was working at Walmart still. My time and focus was really into the school because I knew, I wanted to succeed. I had that desire to succeed. And so I got out, got a good job at Tupelo Hospital. And eventually, after a year on the floor, working nights and things, I landed in the intensive care. I love that. But as I went through nursing, I loved helping people, but I realized what it was doing, what my family life was becoming.
Sure.
I was missing a lot of things. I was missing church. My wife was taking the kids to church by herself. I was missing birthday parties. I was missing Christmas morning. And I think God spoke to me and he said, Brandon, that's not you.
Yeah.
That's not really what I desire for you in your life. And if you keep on this road, things are not going to go well.
Right.
So I'm like, what are some things that I can do? And it went back to my true love. I love the thrill of the hunt, just to seek out those items that, to people call it flipping, to just flip on eBay and just to search those things out. And I finally shared my heart with Calissa one day, and I said, I don't really like how the things are going, some of the things at the hospital. I don't like what it's doing to our family, the things that it's requiring of you, because she's working a full-time job as a teacher. So with two small children. And I said, I don't like the things that I'm requiring of you in my absence. Yeah. I said, I need to be there. And I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I said, we're going to pray about it. And I said, for 1 year, I said, I'm going to keep a log of eBay. How much profit am I making daily? And I said, at the end of the year, we're just going to see how I do. Going to add it up and see, hey, God, can we make this thing work?
Yeah.
Are you in it, or is it just Brandon again by himself,
Sure.
like he'd been in the past,
Right.
thinking I need to do something for me? But at that point, I really did. I felt led by God that that's what He wanted. He wanted for me, and He wanted for my family. And so, man, when I tell you that I flipped a switch, then I flipped the switch. I went from that low medium setting to where I was about to blow the circuit. Okay,
Wow.
I knew that I was at that point. I'm here, and if I fail, I'm going to go this way, and then I've lost my chance. I may never do this, and here I am. I'm going to be a nurse again. Nothing wrong with that. That was great. Or I could choose to go this path, and then really live that dream that God had for me.
Yeah.
So man, I was all in. I was doing it all, working full time at the hospital, and just really into everything that I could do to just grow this business and just pressing it, and whatever it took, getting up every day really early before a nursing shift to ship things, and going up late, going at all I had was a small garage where I was doing all my shipping and things. I had products in there, but some of you may not know about Amory, Mississippi, but it's not a big place. We live in Amory then, and there's a couple of different places that had storage units. I had storage units all over Amory, different places. At one time, I think I had like 7 storage units full of merchandise. I'm traveling at midnight. I'm going around and grabbing merchandise that I know I got to ship the next morning, maybe in 4 hours from the time that I'm grabbing it. I'm just here, there, and everywhere. But man, as more as I saw it, and I was adding up those numbers every month, I was becoming more encouraged, and I had more energy, and man, I was getting more fired up, and I just said, God's blessing it. This is it. This is it. It's going. It's going. Every month, it just kept going. Now, granted, I will say one thing: I was a bad husband, and I was not a good father during this time. This was I went back and looked at. I still have the small little. It was a yearly little pocket calendar, Rob, that I used to keep these numbers in. I went back and looked at it last night, and for those 11 months, I didn't do the things that for God really maybe that I should have been doing as much, and I sure wasn't being that. But my wife, I could see it on her face that man, she really maybe at days wasn't happy, but she understood my dream, and she said, "Keep going." Keep going. So it ended. Time came. It was 11 months. I started the log in like February the 10th, kept it through. I think the last number I wrote on there was December the 25th. So that year in nursing, I probably made $55,000 to $60,000. I'm not sure. And that's great money, man.
Yeah.
Praise God for that. But at that end of that, a little less than 11 months, I had made $111,000 in profit. And during that time, I was being a good steward of my money.
Sure.
Because I knew I said, man, I got to put back, just because, if we decide I'm leaving the hospital, I need some security for me and my family. And that way, if I do flop this, we can make it till I get a nurse. And I felt confident. Nursing was a good profession that I had confidence that I left the hospital in very good standings and with a lot of different people. And I really feel within 1 5-minute phone call, I could be back up there the next day and I could be employed. So that was one thing. That was kind of a security blanket for me, but I wasn't holding on to that security blanket where I was thinking, Corey, started listening to Corey Lee, have developed a relationship with Corey, and he talks about in his journey where when he decided to pursue what he's doing now and helping people in leadership and motivating them, that he was going back and looking at these job postings and seeing through things available. Man, I wasn't looking for any nursing job, I'll tell you that.
Right.
I knew where I was supposed to be. So I quit the hospital, started doing it on my own, and eventually done it a couple months, just eBay, and I was like, I think I should try this Amazon thing.
Right.
And so, I added Amazon really slow because it's a more of a complex platform.
Sure.
Want to be real careful that I didn't do anything to mess up a selling relationship with Amazon with my account. I'm still like that. It's very important. Follow their rules and regulations because it's they're allowing me to be there. They don't have to. I'm allowed to be. And so I get into that, and then after that, I'm just like, there was stuff started selling in a totally different kind of way than they do on eBay. If you know how to use eBay and you know how to look up things that are sold, you can go up there and pick out a sold item that's brand new, then go to Amazon. You're going to see most likely that item sells on Amazon for at least 15% more than it did on eBay. Mm-hmm. So I got to thinking, I'm like, man, what if most of those things I was selling, I've been selling on Amazon this whole time and I'm making 15% more. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. So I started slow, and then I realized they had a program called FBA, Fulfillment by Amazon. If you don't know anything about Amazon, story in short here is I can send in things to their warehouses that I buy, acquire, and I tell them whatever I want. I can price it how I want, and they say, okay, Brandon, why don't you send it to the Memphis warehouse? It gets there, their employees are checking it in, and then it's available for sale on Amazon. So some of you guys have probably bought something from me, and you don't even realize it. Yeah. Over this time that I've been on Amazon, and then when it sells, their employees pick the item, they pack it, they label it, and so what it did for me is I realized then I'm like, I'm just a one-man team, and I really realized my capabilities as far as running the account, the customer service on the account, doing the shipping. I'm like, well, man, if I could send in 50 of this item and not have to package it myself, but I can throw them all in 10 to a box in 5 boxes, and then they're doing that work for me, it really got me to thinking. And I really got into learning about how to do this. And I brought on a team member, Mark Horton, who's my warehouse manager now. He was just hired to kind of help me just straighten up I built a 30 by 40 metal shop outside my house. That was my little warehouse. And man, what I'm telling you, it was after that first Christmas, dude, it was a tornado, just a wreck. And to give you an idea of some things I went through, that first Black Friday, man, I had no idea what was going to happen, how much people were going to shop in my items. And I spent that following day, because you got to have the items shipped out the next day. I shipped for 20 hours straight by myself. Wow. It took that long. So, and you can imagine stuff was everywhere. So Mark came on and did a great job. And then after he had been there about 3 months, I said, man, would you really consider just staying on with me and helping me in this journey? He said, yeah, I'd like that. And Mark has been such an important part of my company and its growth, and he's still there doing a great job, and I appreciate him. And so then it just kept growing. Added a person here to help me. Added a high school kid to come in after he got out of early release at school, come help me ship. And then I'm thinking, well, man, this place is so slam full. I got room for nothing. I still got those storage units I talked to you about. There's still storage units out in town, and I rented some little studio that was not far from my house. I had it slammed full of inventory, and I'm like, this is just not working. I mean, we're wasting so much time here, there, and everywhere, zigzagging, going to pick stuff up to ship. I'm like, that's ridiculous. And so finally, I need a warehouse. So got to looking, not a whole lot of warehousing around Amory, Mississippi, or surrounding area, really, until you go to Tupelo, So finally I found a place in Smithville, same place we're at now. And, it just kept growing and kept adding people. Like I said, now I've got 10 employees and just to give you an idea of things we're doing. We're also on Walmart.com. Walmart has a program that's like Amazon. And we typically use eBay now mainly just for our things that we get returned. We do get a lot of returns from Amazon customers, and so we mainly put those on eBay. Sure. But this year, God's really blessed. We're up around 70 to 75% year to date, and I kind of went back and looked on it yesterday. We're averaging almost $16,000 a day in sales on Amazon
Wow.
alone. So, we got some, and Amazon is typically about 85% of our sales volume. And that's typically really uniform over the time I've been doing this. That's pretty average. So I feel confident in that number.
So what would you say for the year then, like total sales, kind of just an estimate, because you started in kind of in your house in that little office
Yeah,
bedroom, area, and
right.
now you have this warehouse with several employees. What would you say, like number wise, for the year you think you're going to be at?
Just thinking about the year, if we can maintain that, I really feel like, on Amazon, I think we can be somewhere between probably $6 to $8 million in
Wow,
sales.
that's
Uh,
crazy.
it's
Yeah,
a lot of it will depend on November and December, very, pivotal months where, we go hard and, typically they're way above the average of the other months. So
yeah,
a lot of your year can be made or broken by how you treat November and December
sure. Yeah,
in this marketplace, that I'm in. So
yeah. Yeah, and just to kind of put it in context, whether you're watching this on YouTube or another platform or listening to this on the audio podcast, Amory, Mississippi, we live in North Mississippi area, and Amory, Mississippi is a very small town. Smithville's, it's even smaller.
oh
And
yeah,
and the reason I bring this up is because a lot of times people will make excuses. Well, I live in a small town, or I have this, or there's not enough this. And was talking to someone the other day, and I said it's never a lack of resources. If you're truly an
yeah,
entrepreneur and really want to break out and be and chase that God dream and live it out, it's never a lack of resources. It's always a lack of resourcefulness. But here's the
yes,
cool thing about being a Christian entrepreneur is that we are in alignment with a God who has never ending resources. And if we're
yes,
willing to ask him, and really yield to that, I truly believe that he will provide all the wisdom, what I call divine strategy, whatever we need to live that out. There's so much in your story there, and I was taking notes as we were talking. But one of the things that I really loved, what you said early on, and just really wanted to park there for a second, is it's amazing how many of us, myself included, will spend so much energy and time trying to be the person that other people want us to be,
yeah,
or chase the dream that other people want us to chase. And I love what you said. It's not that those people don't love us, right? Most of the time it is
yeah,
people, our parents, our friends, maybe some pastors or mentors or coaches. They love us. But what happens a lot of times is we wind up chasing or investing so much time and energy living
mm,
out something that
yeah,
was never meant for us. I really want you to talk about that just for a second. And I know you kind of talked about a breaking point, but maybe there's somebody out there listening today who's there. Maybe they're in their 20s and they went to college and now they're doing this profession that their mom, dad, maybe somebody else told them they needed to be. And
yeah,
it's like not bad and they're thankful for it, right? We always want to bloom where we're planted,
hmm,
but there's something more that you talked about
right.
passion. There's something deeper that they just go, man, I was meant for more than just this. Talk about that kind of a little bit, how you begin to break out of that and maybe encourage someone else who needs to break out of that as well.
Yeah, and like you said, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you are, how far, how deep down in that pit you are. Christ, he'll pull you up just like that, man. You're out.
Yeah, that's good.
But are you, number one, I want to talk about, are you in alignment with him?
Sure.
Because
That's
if you're not in
key.
alignment with him,
Yep.
anything else that I say after this, it's trash.
Yeah.
Whatever I say, you can listen to 30 other podcasts, take notes, study it 30 years.
Yeah.
If you're not in alignment with his will in your life, it's worthless.
Yeah.
So number one, realize that. Seek that out. Say, God, who do you want me to be? Who did you
Yeah.
make me to be?
That's
He
good.
made you because for your journey.
Yeah.
He didn't make you to be like Brandon Johnson. He didn't make you to be like Rob.
Yeah.
He made you for you.
Right.
So you got to figure out, what did God, besides honoring and glorifying him, what else did he make you for?
Yeah.
What is his plan? Seek it out. Okay? And I want to talk about another thing is, when you're doing that seeking, the fear will come.
Sure.
There was going to be some times that devil's going to say, what are you trying to do?
Yeah.
You've got no business doing that. You're a nurse. What, I mean, hey, you've got a dependable job. You make a good wage. Do you really want to rock that boat?
Right.
Do you really want to leave those things?
Yeah.
Do you really want to leave helping people to go pursue a profession to where it may appear to other people that you're money hungry? And then that's where I tell him, yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Because that's what God wants for me.
Yeah.
That's what he wants from me.
Yeah.
But I want to stop and talk just a minute, Rob, about these. Maybe you are out there and you are pursuing some of these things that you feel like God wants you to do, and maybe you're failing. And you know what I say to that? Praise God, you're failing.
Yes.
I'm going to talk about some things I learned in failure. There's some different kinds of failure, okay?
Right.
There's a good failure and a bad failure. I had a failure, number one, of rejecting God over and over and over. Because, like I told you, I thought I had professed Christ as my Lord and Savior at 7 years old. No. So all these years, from 7 years old to probably around 34 years old, I'm 42 now, about 8 years ago, I just constantly lived a lie, and that's what the devil wanted. He wanted me to stay there, and he's like, man, you just keep making people think that you love Jesus, and you just make people keep thinking, no, and that's what he wanted, and that's where I stayed. And then I'm like, when I finally started hitting me, I was ashamed of that. And then of course, you're always worried about what people think. Well, man, I'm such a hypocrite. Well, I am.
Yeah.
Man, I had been living it every day of my life. And then the other kind of failure that I experienced was, I had the failure of laziness, just lack of trying, lack of trying to find the desire. And then I put that in with shame. I was ashamed to tell those people that love me, I don't like this. I'm having a hard time at this. I am failing very badly, and I need your help.
Yeah.
All those people would have helped me, but I was too scared to say, I'm ashamed. But some things I learned from that's not the failure you want. The failure I want you to experience is that you're going after that dream.
Yes.
And even when you're just like, man, I did 42 sales calls today. Nobody bit. Well, hey, do your do again. Get up and get after it again.
That's right.
Okay? If that's where you feel like God wants you to be, you better keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. But I was at that point where I experienced that failure. And I want to tell you, whatever you're doing, you're going to learn from that failure. You have to. Don't put it so far back in your memory that you don't ever want to bring it up again.
Sure.
Because I want you to have that feeling that when you need it, you can go back to it. Because, man, I still know that feeling. And I can go back to it and be like, there is no way I'm heading back down to that road. There's no way. So take that feeling, and just let it propel you. Let it fuel that desire that, no, I'm not letting that defeat me. I'm not doing that today. And every time that I had something that was hard to do, where whatever I had going on, where, I had to stay up and ship all night, I slept 2 hours, and I went and worked a nursing shift. I went back to that fear, that failure. And I said, no, I'm not going back to you. I'm only going forward.
Yeah. That's
So
good.
learn from your failure. And, you just really have to learn from it. And I really want to talk some about, I'm not going to go into all the specifics, but when you think about a U.S. president, Rob, I think about people that are not failures. I think about people that just really probably have it together. Maybe they went to that Ivy League school and they
Sure.
just had everything handed to them on a silver platter. But I want, for you people that don't know the story of Abraham Lincoln, I'm not going to go through all of it, but I want you to go back and read about that. Read about how he grew up so poor in that log cabin, and he taught himself to read, and he taught himself law so that he became a lawyer. And he had a lot of obstacles, and he kept trying to be elected for different offices in the nation and state. He kept failing every time. He started a business with another guy. Guess what? It went bankrupt.
Yeah.
He didn't stop. He just kept going and going
Mm.
and pushing and persevering. And he learned from those. He learned from each of those failures every time. So I have a quote here from him. Well, I'm going to find it. I lost it.
Sure. That's all right. Well, you're kind of looking for that quote, and feel free to jump back in. I love what you're saying, because a lot of times people don't realize that our assignment includes adversity, right? It's just part of the journey. And it blows my mind how many people are so surprised by this adversity that comes. But if you're really, truly going to live out that God-given assignment, adversity is part of that. And if you're not in alignment with the one who gave you the assignment, then the adversity will crush you.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
So I found it here.
Did you find it?
Yeah, it says,
Yep. Go ahead.
my great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure.
Yeah, that's good.
So are you just content with it, and you're just going to say, I failed. It's just not for me. I'm going to go back to that other 9 to 5 job that I really don't like very much, that I really don't desire very much, and I'm just going to give in, and I'm just going to make myself content, because I should just be happy with the things that God's given me. And you should be proud of what God's given you. But like I said earlier, are you living the dream that he has for you?
Yeah.
Are you doing that daily? Are you giving in to the enemy and saying, well, this is not for Brandon Johnson. He just can't do it.
Right.
And through myself, I can't do it.
Sure.
But through Christ, man, he gives me the power of the Holy Spirit within me, that if it's what he wants for my life, it's going to happen, Rob.
Right.
Anybody that wants to come into opposition to me can stand in the way, but you're getting mowed down.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
In my life. So
yeah, I love that, because there's a difference between being content and being complacent. And if you're not careful, you'll confuse the both, and you'll be content with something that will ultimately lead you to complacency. The contentment there in the Bible and what God calls us to is to be thankful and grateful for what he's given us. And part of that contentment, as you well know, Brandon, is being a good steward of that job, or whatever he's assigned to us in that season. However, if there is something more there, which I believe there is in every heart, there's something more. There's nothing wrong with pursuing that, saying, God, I'm thankful and I'm grateful for this. But I always tell people, complacency is a calling killer. Right? You will never live out your true calling in this life that I believe God has assigned to all of us if you're complacent, if you're lazy, if you just want to be average and mediocre. That's not living on purpose, right? That's just existing. That's just getting in what I call the lazy river of life with everybody else, and just kind of floating. Another thing that I want to bring out real quickly is, and I say this all the time, is that I hear people, I want victory and I want to be transformed. I mean, if you asked everybody, raise your hand if you want victory in your life, and raise your hand
Yeah.
if you want true transformation, pretty much everybody would raise their hand. But what they don't realize is the victory and the transformation is on the other side of how vulnerable and how transparent we're willing to be. First with our Creator, but then also within that community that God has put us in. Because if not, Brandon, and I love this, what we've kind of talked about and some of the things you brought out, is I tell people, if God had Academy Awards, I would have won Best Actor like 10 years in a row. I would have been the best Christian actor, the best Christian supporting actor, the best Christian action actor. I would have won all of these. But let me take the spiritual side out of it for a minute. I believe that many of us would get the best actor for just staying in the job when we knew that God has called us to more. We're just acting. We're just going through the motions. Like what you said, this is what we're supposed to do. People are going to think this, or I shouldn't be this or that. And then we wind up acting for 30 years, right? Just being this actor, just being this someone who is not really pursuing their calling, and really what I believe is their God-given calling, that divine assignment that he has given them. Real quickly, because I know we've talked about a lot and I want to get to a few more questions here, but I love the Janice lady you talked about. I'm a big believer in divine appointments. I truly believe that you and I met through a divine appointment. We have a mutual friend who does this Bible study Zoom. I felt like God told me to reach out to you. We went to lunch. Your story resonated with me. I asked you to come on the podcast. I believe there's more that God is going to do in this relationship because it's a divine appointment.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I truly believe the Janice lady was a divine appointment for you in a season in your life where just this shame and condemnation, just life had just beaten you up and spit you out, so to speak. Here you are, and here's this divine appointment. Talk about that real quickly, how important it is, and really how that divine appointment with Janice really set the trajectory for you, and to a different trajectory, I should say, in your life.
Well, before you can, the one thing I had to do to get to that point, Rob, is that I had to step out and take action.
Yeah.
I talked about, I've got all these things against me. My grades are bad. I failed all these times. You look at my transcript, sure. all you see is F, 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 failure, failure, failure. And there for a while, I labeled myself. That's what Brandon Johnson was. Yeah. And for that season, Rob, I was a failure.
Yeah.
For that season. But that wasn't the true season that God made me for, that he appointed me for. Okay?
Yeah, that's good.
So I had to be a man of action after that. And that's where I try to be daily now. I want to be a man of action. So when I went into that school of nursing, I was just there. I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm thinking, well, it's either this, I'm going to work at Walmart the rest of my life. It's not what I wanted. But when I got in there, I just felt, like I said, she was not typically the nicest lady, Rob. Yeah. She was not your grandma that says, come on in, sweet honey. Let's have some. Yeah. Let's get you a cold drink and a piece of pie. No, that was not her. She was really not her nature, even though she had been a nurse, towards the students was not that of a nurturer. She was she was a wonderful teacher.
Yeah.
But she wanted to be hard on you, number one, because you need to understand the pressures of being a nurse, and we're not going to go into all that. But being a nurse is not for a sissy, Rob.
Sure.
You encounter a lot of things through a lot of different areas, and I think she wanted people to be prepared. That's what it was about. She loved everybody, but God gave her for that time that I went in the office and we sat down. he gave her that spirit of nurturing and pouring out of love. She made me feel loved. And like I told you, when I discovered how she acted in the clinicals, I'm like, is this the same lady? But God knew what I needed. He used her. She was the vessel, but she was willing to be the vessel.
Yeah.
She could have said, dude, this dude's a failure.
Yeah.
He's done all these things. And I told her the whole story. So she knew it. She knew. She could have said,
yeah,
this is not the kind of man that we wanted our school of nursing to represent us or to take care of people. She had a choice.
Yeah.
So always be in your mind and be aware of people that are coming to you that may be so far deep down in that pit that they're just hanging by a thread before they just hit the bottom.
Yeah.
And they're looking to you saying, hey man, give me a hand. Just help me get up a little bit because I'm almost at the very bottom.
Yeah.
And she was that hand. And she lifted me up. And after I left, man, I had a renewed hope in myself and in my abilities. And then I knew that when I had that renewed hope, that I had to set my eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
And it was another one of those do or die moments.
Sure.
You know, that was a do or die moment. And then when I tried to branch off and start this business, it was a do or die moment where I had to be all in.
That's good.
And all in goes across a lot of realms of your life. Are you all in for Jesus? Are you looking for to serve a God that's just convenient when you need him? Are you seeking that daily relationship that he desires?
Yeah.
To where I was talking to my kids last night during family Bible study, Rob. I didn't mean to talk about this, but I told them, I said, when we're in line with God, we're his, we're walking with him. When that time comes and you call on him, Rob, guess what? He's showing up.
That's right.
And he ain't showing up in a little way. He's going to show up in a big way. And that's another thing I want to bring up real quick. Don't limit God.
Yeah.
Don't say, he can only bring me from here to here.
Yeah.
So when you're having problems, times are tough, you need $200 to pay the electric bill because you just don't know if you're going to have it to get it and it's going to be cut off. Do you sit down and do you say, God, give me $200 for that electric bill? And even though you are reaching out to him in faith, I'm not saying you don't have faith, but you know what I want you to ask for? God, I want you to give Brandon Johnson what you want him to have. What does he want for you? He might have wanted to have given you $250,000, but you settled for the crumbs at $200,000.
That's good.
Because you just limited it. Man, don't limit him because he's ready to show out.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
He's ready. I would never imagine. And everything that I say, realize I've never been on a podcast. Rob didn't tell that. I don't tell people how much money my business makes. I don't even tell a lot of people what I do. They don't even know.
Right.
They think I work for Amazon. I don't work for Amazon. You know, I don't tell people. I hide it.
Yeah.
It's not that I'm ashamed. It's that I don't want to be lifted up.
Yeah.
So realize when I tell these things, I'm not looking at it out of that. And that when I say that God can do this, it's about what he can do for you. Yeah. It got nothing to do with me. And the things that have happened in my life, it's him. All these things. But I'm here and I'm willing.
Sure.
And I'm not all in every day, Rob. I ain't gonna lie. I wake up some days and I may only be 25% in that day.
Yeah. It's part of it.
But you know, I want to go across I just want to talk about a couple of principles that are important to me now. That's all right.
Yeah.
First thing I think you got to be all in on Number one is your relationship with him. But then after you get that, where is your mind? What kind of mindset do you set yourself up for every day?
Sure.
You know, Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good and pleasing and perfect will. So are you renewing your mind every day? What's going into your mind? When I'm at my best, I'm leaving the junk out. I'm not watching 45 minutes of Netflix a day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not scrolling on Facebook for 45 minutes a day. I'm up at 4:30. I'm in God's word. I'm in prayer. Maybe I'm meditating. Maybe I'm asking God to speak to me that day about something.
Mm-hmm.
And and then in the past, and I'm trying to get back here, I'll tell myself, I've got to get back to my exercise routine. I feel when I'm at my best, I'm in that.
Sure.
And before you get prepared, whatever you got, I encourage you to try to have your time with God in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
and just straight to it. Don't look on your cell phone. Don't look at your emails, because if I do that, guess what? My mind can't stay in that spirit of worship, because my mind goes back to work.
Yeah.
But if I focus on my time goes to God. He gets the first fruit of my day. And then my mind is there with him. And then, I can bring in the work aspect and do those things when I've had, that time. And so,
Yeah. I love what you're saying. And let me kind of simplify that. If you're watching or listening to this today, is, it really is this. If you want to be rich spiritually, because everybody says, I want to be rich. If you want to be rich spiritually, if you want to be rich in your marriage, if you want to be rich in all these different areas, it really boils down to the routine. You could say it this way: riches are found in the routine, right? It's the routine that we adopt every single day. Any successful person you talk to has a routine, and they do not budge from it. It doesn't mean that we never, get a bronze star on some days. We're not going to get a gold star every day, but it's really simply this: that we get more gold stars than bronze stars. If we, that's kind of the grading system they had when I was a kid. You either got a gold star every day, or you got a silver or bronze. And so I think a lot of us don't realize that it really is all in the routine. The other thing I want to say, I want to go back to something real quickly as we get ready to close, is that a lot of people are asking God for divine appointments. But here's the thing: a lot of times we don't realize that we could be someone else's divine appointment. We could be someone else's Janice today, if we're
yeah,
really asking God. Sometimes if we're not careful, we're selfish and go, hey, God, let me meet someone that, will speak into my life or change my life, instead of, hey, God, let me be the one who's a catalyst for someone else to pursue their calling. Right. And then the third thing I want to
yeah,
say, kind of going back to some of the fire that you've been spitting today, is that God's responsibility is the assignment. He already has an assignment he's assigned to all of us, right? We know that.
yeah,
Our responsibility, to use your terminology, and then I'll add mine, is to have all in activity, right? The assignment that he gives is the super part. The all in activity is the
yeah,
natural part. And when you combine both of those, because I believe that we collaborate with God, right? It's him,
mm-hmm.
but he
Yeah,
allows us to be a part of it, and he wants us to be all in with the activity. That's when the supernatural begins to happen. That's what's happened in your business, going from failure to failure to failure, to being in this bad place years ago, to maybe this label you put on yourself, or these dreams that other people wanted you to pursue. And now you're in a 7-figure business with Amazon, with eBay, and with Walmart. I mean, to me, that is a supernatural thing, right? That you probably thought to
yeah.
yourself, there's no way that I could ever get here. Well, as we close today, Brandon, and man, you have brought some serious fire today. I always ask this to everyone that comes on the podcast: if there was one word you could use to describe Brandon Johnson, what would that one word be?
Hmm. One word.
Yeah.
Mm.
And some people say, I need multiple words. If you need to do
Yeah.
multiple words, go ahead. But just if
Well,
there's something that rises
the
to the top.
the word that I've started kind of using that's kind of new for me, but it allows me to roll a couple of things into it is legacy.
Okay.
I'm
So
really
go ahead.
no, I'm really just because so many things can be a part of my legacy, your legacy. It's not about it's not about if you left your kids $20 or 20 million. Number one, it starts with those things that you taught them as principles. What are they going to remember about you?
Sure.
What did you stand for? Were you a man of integrity? Were you a man, I want to be a man that has integrity. This is what I want to be known as, Rob.
Yeah.
A man that has integrity, a man that's generous, a man that loves people, and a man that loves God.
Mm.
So that's my top. That's
Yeah.
what I want. That's what I want to be known as. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be the guy. That's the guy that owns that warehouse over there that does some kind of Amazon
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
I don't care about that.
Mm-mm.
I'm so far from that.
Yeah.
And you talked about helping people be in their place. And there for a while, I struggled with not feeling like I was in the right place, even though I was doing what I was doing. I was successful. But I said, God, I'm not helping people. What am I doing? And it took me a long journey. And he said, I didn't call you to be the person that maybe is hands-on with people like you were as a nurse to physically help people or to be out there every day. But I called you to be the person that is that man of integrity, that man that's generous, that I ask God every day when I wake up. I say, God, if there's somebody today that needs help, I want to know about it.
Sure.
Help me to be in tune with that. If somebody calls and their organization or their family, they need that $200 for their electric bill, God, let me be the blessing to them.
Sure.
Let me be generous
Good.
with what you've given me. And so that's really what I want.
Yeah. No, I love that. And we should never sacrifice impact, which includes that legacy dynamic that you're talking about, on the altar of income, right? We should never be those kind of
Yeah.
people that sacrifice that. And the other thing I will say as we close today is, and listen, I want all of you to come in close and hear this. If you're watching this on YouTube or if you're, on the audio podcast, is don't be stingy with your failure. Your failure, by being vulnerable and transparent, could be the fuel to help someone move forward. Let me say that again, because that's a lot of F words in there. They're all good F words, though, Brandon. All good F words, all right? Your
That's right.
failure, by sharing your failure, could be the fuel to help someone else move forward. It could be that catalyst. It could be that fresh wind that they need today. And I pray that
Yes.
something that Brandon and I have discussed and talked about today has been that for you, if you're watching this or if you're listening
Yes.
to this. Last thing, Brandon, is where can we find you? What if somebody says, man, I want to connect with you and I'd love to hear more of your story, or, I know we off camera and we've talked about possible this coaching that you're looking at doing down the road for coaching others to have success like you've had. Where could they reach out to you for anything? Are you on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok? Tell us where you're at.
Yeah, you can reach out to me on Facebook. It's just Brandon Johnson. And feel free to send me an email. It's Brandon at Monroe, MONROE, Depot, DEPOT, .com. So, yeah, feel free. I'd love to hear from you. And if I can help you in any way, I'd love to help you out.
Absolutely. And I believe that about you. And man, this interview today has been a lot of fire. I mean, it has been fire, man. It's been awesome. And as we close today, I just want to remind all of you, you were called for more. I believe
Yeah.
that God has more for you. But like what Brandon said, you got to get to the point in your life where you're just willing to give him all the keys to the kingdom and surrender all of that to him
Yes.
and just say, God, at any cost, I just want to be in alignment with your plans for my life. Not my plans, but your plans for my life. As always, please take a moment to like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. That way every time we drop fresh content like this, you're notified. Comment below. Let us know if this inspired you, if this encouraged you anywhere, and share this with someone who needs to hear all this fire that was in Brandon's story today. Well, Brandon, thanks once again for coming on, man. Bless you. And I know God has even bigger things in store for you as well. God bless you guys, and
All
we'll
right.
see you
Thank you,
next
Rob.
time.
I enjoyed it. Bye bye.